Good morning, WNOV family. This is Will Martin, and you're listening to The Difference. And we're going to be talking about recession-proofing your career. A lot of things going on in the economy. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the fact that 1 million jobs estimated that they thought had been created, turned out weren't created in this economy. And so concerns about making sure, are we still growing? Is there a decline in the number of jobs that are available? Our community often gets hit first in terms of recessions coming, unemployment coming. How do we make sure that we can actually recession-proof our careers, ourselves, our skills? And so to have in the studio today, a great honor to have Scott Mayer, who is the founder and was CEO for 35 years, I believe.
Something like that.
Okay, all right. Of QPS Employment Group,
Yes, sir.
One of the largest staffing services in certainly in the state and in the Midwest
Yes, sir.
region.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes.
also, welcome to the studio.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Nice to be here.
So, I got a chance to come and visit you at your offices. Thanks for letting me in. It's great to be able to come over there and visit. I thought I was going to get lost. There's quite a wind in that place.
Yeah, well, there's hallways and you don't know where you're going to end up, but we made it.
Absolutely. So it was great to get a chance to get together with you. And, you were telling me when we were together, this is an incredible business that you've built. And you a founder, one of the founders of this business, going from one office to over 50 offices around the country. These days,
50 something. Yes, I guess I've lost track.
Okay,
but sure,
well,
something like that.
You're growing when you lose track of the number of offices you have, right? So, I wanted to talk today about how you were able to pull this off, but I want to back up to how you grew up. You're a lifelong Wisconsinite.
Franklin, Wisconsin, actually, my whole entire life. Yes, sir. Born and raised, lived here my whole life.
Okay, so it's been Franklin has been it.
Correct.
Okay,
I'm kind of boring, but yes.
No. We're not going to say all that. So you grew up there, and we talked before getting on air about grew up there, went to college, and you were saying UW Waukesha.
Yeah, 2 years at UW Waukesha, correct? Back when that was a school. That's how old I am. We used to have a school out there.
And basketball.
2 years basketball, correct? Yep.
Okay.
6 a.m. practice, 6 p.m. practice. It was a grueling schedule, but we tried our best with school. Wasn't for me, but we did have some fun.
Talk a little bit about that, though. I mean, you mentioned to me beforehand about, it's not for everybody. And so you got your 2 years in, you got to play basketball for that time, but you didn't go beyond that time, right?
Correct. I literally failed out of college, in part because basketball took up so much time, and I don't know how student athletes do it now. Clearly they're more mature than I was at the time, because you got to have some time for having fun too, but the books didn't work for me. And college is not for everybody, and thankfully we're starting to come through that and realize that it is not for everybody. There was a time where it wasn't sexy unless you went to a 4-year school and got at least a bachelor's, and that it's not necessary for everybody, and it really is not what needs to be done. Now, some, yes, I get it, but certainly not everybody like it was pointed at one point in our history, but it's coming around. People are realizing there's other options, and I'm a living, breathing example of somebody that failed out of school, didn't have to do it, and still was able to be successful in the world.
No, it's incredible because I think so many people think that you can't be an entrepreneur if you haven't gone to 4 years of college or more, that you can't be a successful business person if you haven't gone to 4 years of college or more. And you're living proof that that's not true.
Yeah, I went to the School of Hard Knocks, which is much more relevant to what I did than anything school would have been for me. So, it's hard, but it takes learning, and it doesn't always have to be in a school where you learn.
Right.
And that's my history. I learned out of school on the job.
Yeah, Jermaine, I think we know a few people who've been to the School of Hard Knocks, right?
Yeah.
So it's
pretty big class.
It is. It is. So I think it's important to let the audience know this, because I think a lot of folks think that if you're running one of these major companies, if you have built something incredible, that's not attainable for a lot of folks, because they think I've got to have gone and gotten this bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD, something that allows me to get that piece of paper that says I can do this.
Yeah, that is such fake news. No, there are plenty of opportunities to do it without the traditional having to go to school. I mean, I did high school, completed, graduated, but didn't need any more than that because, again, when I was in high school, I entered the business world and learned everything I needed that I applied then after growing up in the real world.
Yeah. So you told me earlier about how your first job was really a sales job.
Yeah, I had a few other little odds and ends jobs. I worked at Waste Management,
Okay.
picking crap and at a dump, but that wasn't relevant. But no, when I was a teenager, 16, my best friend's dad started a business, and I learned as a teenager how to sell,
Yeah.
how to hire, how to fire people. I hired a couple hundred kids every summer for probably 4 or 5 summers when I was growing up.
So this is when you're 16, 17?
16, 17, correct, yes.
Wow. Okay.
And how amazing it was to learn those skills as a kid and then be able to apply it in the real world when I grew up and, ended up starting QPS.
Wow. Okay. So you talk about being able to learn, on the job, right? Learn in life. Any advice you'd have for folks that are out here who are trying to figure out? We had 11. I think Jermaine, I believe, you were here when we had those 11 young men and women here, and a lot of those young people, they graduated from MPS. They weren't able to go beyond that. Circumstances didn't allow, or they just need to get out and get a job right now to help take care of their families. But they talked about just the need to get out and hustle. And what advice would you give for young people like that who maybe aren't going to be on the track for college, or are not, at least not yet, or may never,
and maybe never? They don't
Right.
have to ever. There's so many opportunities. It's a big world we live in, and there's lots of opportunities. My couple quick things is, first of all, you got to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Because what we haven't talked about is I've failed at a bunch of businesses too. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have 2 really, really successful businesses today, and I probably was intimately involved, either started or partnered with 6 others that failed in one degree or another.
Oh,
And
wow.
the common denominator is I didn't know that industry intimately like I knew hiring and firing
Okay.
and staffing. So that's why this was successful for me, but it comes back to just hard work. I mean, when I was a kid, when we started QPS, we transferred the phones home at night. So I would answer the call. We had Tombstone Pizza. Everybody knows
Yeah,
Tombstone
yeah.
Pizza. They were an early customer. Well, they'd call at 5 a.m. before we were, quote, open, needing some people for the day. And the phone had been transferred to my house. And I knew, when I heard the ring, answer a phone like I had been awake for hours. QPS, this is Scott. And they'd say, I need 3 people, and I'd have people pre-lined up. So I'd literally, say, I'll get you the 3 people, hang up with the customer, Tombstone, and I'd call literally 3 people, wake them up and say, get out to Tombstone. They were preset, line those 3 up. And remember, I started QPS when I was 19. So then I'd go back to bed for a couple hours.
Whoa. Back this
And
up.
then go back to work and check on they were there, and it looked like I'd been working day and night.
Wait.
So
Hold
a
up.
little fake it before you make it, but I still got the job done.
This is going to be a very applicable.
Sorry, you're digging deep now.
That's good. But no, wait. I did not know this. So when you told me about starting this business, you did not tell me you were 19 years old when you started it.
Yes. Again, 2 years college. So 17 and 18 were college. And then I did a year, not quite a year at a competitor, learned the industry. And then I broke away and started on my own. So I was 19, let's be honest, right before I turned 20.
Okay.
Is when I technically started QPS in a 1-room office in downtown Hales Corners, not the most brilliant location, but I didn't know better. And I worked out of my parents' basement. And it was lots of years of not making any money, hard knocks, and really hustling. And again, that 1-room office, I was the janitor, I was the cook, the cleaner, the purchaser, the sales guy, the order filler. I had to work really hard.
Wow.
to get it off the ground running. And thankfully got blessed really early on with a couple accounts. Kraft Foods was one really early one. And then again, Tombstone Pizza kind of helped propel us and put us on the map because they bought a plant down here. They're from Medford, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And then they, I think, were acquired by Kraft or something and
Mhm.
opened a plant, which is still functional today in Sussex, Wisconsin. And we helped build them up.
But Scott, how at 19 did you get anybody to take you seriously? Right? I mean, you had to go out and sell.
I never told people I owned a business. I said I was an employee because who would want to buy from a 19-year-old punk? So I would say, and I wasn't lying, I'm a salesperson for this company now. Maybe I was also the janitor and the president and everything else, but I was the sales guy, and that was more tolerable for them to buy into.
So how did you come up with how you were going to approach the market this way?
Well, again, I have sales experience. I have hiring and firing. And again, I do have 9 months at a competitor, what was one time a competitor in staffing. They had hired me because I went to them after the basketball and college ended. What am I going to do? I need to find a job now.
Yeah.
So I found a staffing firm that wanted you to hire and fire. And I had that on my resume from being 16 to 18, whatever, 15 to 18, whatever. They hired me and they made the mistake. I was like a girl Friday that was a dude. So they taught me literally everything about the business. They treated me like crap. They paid me like crap. And after 9 months, I broke away and thought I could, 19-year-old punk, I can do this better than these people. I'm smarter than them. Arrogant punk. But I started, and today that business is no longer there, and QPS is 50 plus branches, $250 million a year sales deal. So
man, the School of Hard Knocks, the School of Hard Knocks seems to be paying off huge dividends in this process, right?
But again, they taught me everything about now the staffing industry, from payroll to placing to sales. So what I didn't know, they taught me, and I really never had. You never listen to your parents, right? My dad said, don't ever start your own business. It's, because he had a family business. So, of course, you don't listen to your dad. What do I do? But I hadn't really had this as my vision. I was going to go work at this other deal and just do that for a living until they kind of forced me to do something on my own. I realized I think I can do it better. I had ideas that they wouldn't listen to me with. Then I started my own and, implemented all that and did it differently.
Yeah.
And it was a huge hit. I mean, Quad Graphics, remember them?
Oh, yeah.
They were an early customer. I remember Harry Quadracci showed up at a hotel where we were doing an interview thing for him, and he didn't really know about it. And my mom was like interviewing because she was helping me out, and he comes storming in. What are you doing? Well, we had approval from somebody below him. And anyhow, so Quad Graphics is another one we worked with, and those early days really hustling and working hard and doing what it took to get the job done. And I beat every competitor, the snot out of them, because it was my life on the line, and I cared about helping people and wanting to be successful. So I worked morning, noon, and night, and was really blessed to have an opportunity to build something really amazing.
Wow. So I mean, I think the important thing for hopefully the audience is getting, though, is it's not your credentials.
It's not my brilliance. I'm not a smart guy.
It's not that you had all of these contacts necessarily, right?
No.
And so really this is just hustle.
Yeah. Hustle sounds a little bit streetish. It was hustle, but it was really just hard work and caring for people. When you do right by people, they're going to do right by you.
Mm-hmm.
And I cared about, it's always been about, I want to make money, but I also want to help. I want to make a difference. I didn't want to sell widgets. I wanted to make a difference. And I have helped hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people go from being down and out to having a family, a life, the white picket fence. And, we got so many customers have been with us forever. The entire plant is current or former QPS people. The people running some accounts used to be temps that stayed there so long, and now they're running the place.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to help people and see success, because what else do we have in life?
Yeah.
And I got to make some money along the way too, which was cool. But it was about helping people and doing right by people.
Really? I mean, but just the idea that you were able to do it. How did you get the financing? I mean, you got to pay people. There's all this other.
Well, back in 1985, we didn't have computers. We were just on the cusp of fax machine, which that's outdated. So,
but we had just come out of a recession.
Anything. Yeah, right. But I was too oblivious to realize that. I just hustled and worked hard.
Wow.
But, early on, so really the first year I honored my non-compete with the firm I had worked for. So I did more direct hire versus temporary.
Okay.
And can I tell you a quick story? Funny, because back then, that recession, there were so many people. So actually, my first account was a company called Wholesome Foods, owned by Kraft Foods, and they were paying $15 an hour, which back in 1985 was amazing.
Yeah.
I actually didn't charge the customer. I charged people $500 to get into that company, and they were happy to pay $500 to get a 15.
in.
Now I had hundreds of people lined up, so that helped kind of build a little bit of a nest egg. And then after the year, I started the staffing firm where I became the employer of temps. Listen, there were days where I'm going to the mail. I hope that check comes in because I got to meet payroll today, and I had a little bit of help. There was a bank today. We still work with them, Associated Bank. They gave me a tiny line of credit, and it was I was chewing my fingernails because early on, you're living paycheck to paycheck. I was living invoice to invoice and sweating my butt off.
And clients don't always pay like the nanosecond.
No. I remember walking out to Tombstone going, hey, that invoice on the top of your desk, can you frickin' pay it? You know, because I got people paying. They didn't care. But, you know, by the grace of God, you know, it was small and slow and steady. And we slowly built our way out, and we self-funded literally everything. And even today the company, you know, is debt free because we just put sweat equity and we reinvested it in the business. I didn't need a flashy car. I drove up in a Chevy, which is what I still drive. I wasn't into material things. We made money and just reinvested it back in the business. So because who's going to loan to a now 20-year-old kid in year one or 21 or whatever with no history? So we had to do it on our own, and we did, but it was hard work. And we had some mentors back in the day that we found, me and my eventual partners found some people in the industry that liked us and gave us some pointers. And, you know, you piece things together and you learn. As long as you're open to being, like our current CEO, Ryan Festerling, he always says, let's be curious and learn. Always be learning and thinking about what can we do and how can we do it. I see my friend over there chewing on some Gardettos. That was another huge account early on. Gardettos, when they expanded, we were the ones, you know, staffing them. So all the big companies in this area, they all either work for now or used to work with QPS. So after 40 years, you've worked with just about everybody.
Wow.
Because we just had our 40th anniversary. August 15th of 2025 was QPS's 40th anniversary. That's how long I've been doing it. So I went from being a little kid to an old man, and it happened like overnight.
Well, so if you were if you got a 19-year-old who's listening to this, or more like a parent or a grandparent, you know, he's got Jermaine's got an 8-year-old grandson, right? You know, so he's halfway to your beginnings when you talk about like getting out there hustling and hiring and firing teenagers.
Actually, when I graduated out of high school, I went through QPS for my first job.
No way.
Oh God, I hope we treated you good.
So as soon as he said it, I perked up like, wait a minute.
We had a branch up here on
Right
50th
here.
and Capitol,
Yep,
70th and Capitol. Yes, sir. I just drove by it, and all sorts of cool memories of that place.
You know,
That
this
was
is hilarious.
privilege.
Okay,
That's
I'm gonna start charging. I'm gonna start charging Jermaine, because every time I bring a guest in here, there's always
some
a
type of
connection.
Yeah.
He's a networker, man.
Wait, have you
Yeah.
ever eaten at the packing house?
Of course.
Okay, thank you, because that's the other connection that keeps coming up. Is he's a musician and he plays down there. So the other times when people come in, they're like, "Hey, I remember seeing you at."
Oh, very cool.
I'm gonna start charging you, man.
Hey,
This is
man.
just
Cut
ridiculous.
the check, huh?
Okay, there you go.
But so what? You know, I think there are wait, you tell me, Jermaine. I mean, am I wrong? I think there are a lot of people out here, especially in our community, who feel like they don't necessarily have the equipment. They're not equipped to go out and change the world, right? We don't have the same level of entrepreneurship having in our community, maybe that could happen.
Right.
And so to me, I'm just wondering what the difference is. You know, you obviously you got out there, started hustling, and for some reason you actually thought you could do this. You know, and so I wonder, you know, for somebody, I mean, you got 2 kids, you got a grandson.
Yeah, I think it's all about believing in yourself. If you believe it, you can achieve it. And I just believe, just listening to his story and just hearing how he stayed at it, and he went out there and put himself on the market as a salesman, but in reality he was the owner, he was a janitor, he was all the above.
Payroll,
Payroll,
everything.
right? So
And sweating it in terms of being able to write that check.
yeah, so he was in position that he can hire and fire himself if he
Yep.
wanted to. So he just believed that it can happen. He stayed true to the process, and here we are, 40
Yeah.
years later.
It's a really good point, because if you believe it, it can be. I
There you
mean,
go.
you got to have confidence in
Yeah.
yourself, and I never lacked in that. I always knew I could do it. I never did I question it. Yeah, there were scary moments and scary times early on. We're going to make payroll. We're going to keep it going because you're starting from nothing. But
Right.
at some point, I knew it, because I believe in God, and I think
Yeah.
when I'm doing right by Him,
Yeah.
for His children down
Yeah.
here, and again, when I play basketball, I'm playing with all sorts of colored people.
Right.
I don't see color,
Right.
but I know who needs help, and I work hard to take care of people. I
Mhm.
want to do right by people,
Yeah.
and then it comes back tenfold to you.
Yeah.
I believe in karma, man.
Yeah.
You do
It's
right by
true.
people, it'll come back
It's true.
totally.
It's true. Most definitely.
Well, and he's a living proof.
I'm a living
Somebody
witness.
that you hired way back when.
Years
Now,
ago.
now
No,
look,
I'm sure it's been a minute.
wait, and I hope you did right by him too.
Of course.
I'm-
But I think after 2 weeks I quit. But
Yeah, because you probably found another opportunity. We propelled you
Yeah.
to the next step,
Yeah.
and that's okay too.
But he
That's what
gave
it's
me the
about.
opportunity.
Yeah, there we
Yep.
go. There we
Yeah.
go.
bet.
Okay, and you made good with it. That's
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the important thing.
you better believe it.
Wow. Okay. So
Not the job you went to lunch and didn't come back.
No. This was a whole different thing, man. I went to lunch, and I told them, I was like, I'll see you guys never.
no, but that was not QPS.
No, that
that
wasn't
was not
QPS.
QPS. All right. No, that is something. It's I think you're laying out a great formula that anybody can actually follow. then,
Absolutely.
all right. I mean, treat people well. And how many times have we talked about businesses that don't treat people well, customers that they don't treat well? So, I think everybody can associate with that. The idea that you believed in yourself, I think, it's a whole lot easier when you don't have to sweat it out about having payroll for other people, right? People looking for you.
Sure.
But I mean, very simple path, a very hard path, I'm sure, in
Yeah.
in
Again,
reality.
for me, it's not. I don't do rocket science. It's just, I'm connecting people with businesses and people that need help, and taking them and getting them another opportunity, and doing a lot of counseling. We've sit people down all the time. Next time you gotta get it right, or you're gonna be out of chances.
Right.
And really being hard with people, but sometimes you need to hear that, not from mama, but
Right.
from this
Yeah.
dude
Yeah.
saying you better get it right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or you're in trouble. And
Some
scolding
tough love
people.
as well,
Yeah,
get people,
absolutely.
wake
And
some
we've
people
helped
up.
change lives, and
Yeah.
that's an amazing part of what I did, and I've been so blessed to be able to do is make a difference.
Wow. So what lessons did you learn after you got in this, right? I mean, as you were just early on trying to build, what did you have to learn that you didn't know? I mean, believing yourself was one thing, but you still got to, well, you know what? I'm just thinking that if I get into this right now,
It's gonna
'cause
get juicy. Huh?
I see that Jermaine is telling me we're
Yeah.
going to take that first break.
now.
So here we go. We're going to learn what you had to learn early on, and we will talk about it right after this break. All right, WNLV family, we are back. You're listening to Will Martin, and this is The Difference. And I cannot believe, after all this time that I've been on the station, Debo has always told me, save it for the show. Don't talk about all the stuff during the break. And what does Debo do but talk about it all? And Jermaine.
I only chimed in. I didn't like bring up the stories.
Okay,
But
all
I had
right.
one of my own. I did. As I was telling Scott, I'm certain it had to be through him. I did work at Kraft's Foods out there. It was in Menominee Falls, I believe it was, somewhere out that way. And it was an interesting time. I figured out that I wasn't cut out to work in a warehouse that was cold all the time. You had to put on layers and so forth. But it was a good gig while it lasted, But at that point in time, it served its purpose in my life.
So this is amazing. I am the only one in the studio currently who's never worked for QPS.
What's wrong with you?
So you might have to get me a job shortly.
Right now.
Thank you.
Let's
Could
put
you
him in a
please-
cold row.
Send him out to Kraft.
No, this is great. And then okay, so we talked about during the break what QPS stands for. Now there's the accurate version of what QPS stands for,
Which I know.
Yeah. You're not the other one. Quality Placement Service. That was the original founding name.
All right,
Correct.
that is
And then
beautiful.
we got sexy over the years. We had a bunch of different names, but QPS is the preferred version that we go with. But yeah, originally Quality Placement Service.
Okay, that is
1985's version.
Okay, that is beautiful. And we got a chance to talk a little bit during the break. And what was it, Jermaine, that you said was the other part of the equation, right? You talked about integrity.
Oh yeah.
This is what happens when you have the show during the break. You don't remember what you said.
Yeah, what are we talking about again?
Man, we talk about so much. No, but I was saying it pays to have good character
Yeah.
and have good integrity, because you never know who you will run into. And just sitting here right across from the guy that actually gave me my first job when I got out of high school almost 30-some years ago.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know me from a bag of apples. But now,
Or that Gardetto bag.
or right. but now actually sitting right across from him, hearing him and talking to him, when he said QPS, I perked up because I was like, wait a minute, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And but just having good character, having good integrity, it takes you far.
Well, you don't know what opportunities you foreclose because of having bad, integrity, bad character, not following through on what you say you're going to do, not showing up for the job.
Exactly.
You don't know how much you foreclose
Yeah.
in terms of opportunity for yourself. And in contrast, you don't know how many opportunities you open up just by doing the right thing.
Yeah. And you know what? Speaking of doing the right thing, I believe in sowing. So I'm gonna sow this into your life, brother, because I believe in 500 million coming back my way.
Okay. Look at that.
Wait a minute.
I believe in
Hold
sowing.
on. I'm the one that brought you all together.
He's
So
checking to see if it's counterfeit. Jermaine.
thank you.
It's coming back.
I just feel like I should have gotten it because I was the one who brought you all together.
You know what, Will? Next week, I'm gonna bring you something, man. We'll bring you something.
Thank you.
No,
Thank
but
you.
seriously, I believe, and he said as well. I was listening to him. He was saying how he believed in God,
Mhm.
and me myself, I believe as well, and I believe in the principle of sowing.
Mhm.
And even though it might be small on the level, it's really big to God because
Mhm.
you're sowing
Right.
a seed.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So, it brings up, in COVID, 40% of Black-owned businesses closed. Most of them were cash basis businesses, right? So partly that's why I wondered about how you worked with banks, et cetera. We've got a lot of folks who have been or had been in business for decades.
Right.
COVID comes and you're closed for a month. You're closed for 2 months, especially if you ran a restaurant, your food spoils. You don't have money to replace it because the money you make week 1 is the money you're using week 2 to buy supplies, etc.
Such a dark time in our history.
Absolutely. And
After
so
the fact, now you look back and go, wow, we
yeah,
made it.
so just the lessons that you're talking about in terms of how you did it and how you got going. I just think it's fascinating that you didn't tell people that you were the owner, that you were the salesperson instead.
No, I don't think it was fascinating.
Yeah,
That was brilliant.
That was
Yeah, I
strategic.
really-
yeah,
okay,
that was
yes.
strategic
That was
because
Dumb luck.
if he would have you
A
know,
lot of
came,
doors would have been closed in his face.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You know, he's young, and they looking at him like, well, he probably don't know.
Right.
So
right.
to present yourself as a salesman, you can have the conversation. Now that I'm having a conversation with you, now I can make moves. You know,
But even that's fascinating to
But
me
Will, I
because
guarantee you, every HR person he sat and talked with
yeah,
was twice his age.
Yeah, easy.
and
For sure.
that's why I find it fascinating,
Yeah.
Debo, is just the idea that somebody sees a 19-year-old,
Yeah.
okay, and I immediately have this reaction of, I don't know, am I giving? Look, if I'm running my business and I need people here, I need them here,
Yeah.
ready to work.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that I would be immediately ready to be like a 19-year-old. Sure, take my order, and I'm going to pray that somebody's going to show
How
up
do you
the next
trust
day.
something like that?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So even then, I just think it's incredible that you must have had the ability to make that. Clearly, you made the sale, but you must have also been able to help build the confidence of those folks who were talking to you.
Yeah, I can sell iced Eskimos, I guess. But,
Okay.
no, you know,
I got a brother like that
but you got to
who
be
can sell you your own
believable.
clothes back to you.
Well, there you go. You got to be believable, right? And once I started building a little history, you
Yeah.
can then present that because, you know, again, people talk like to this date for 40 years, something that's been consistent. 67% of our applicant flow is referrals from other people. When I do right by you,
Yeah.
you're going to tell him
Yeah.
and the next one.
Yeah.
So again, that's
Okay.
where it comes back
Yeah.
around. So just a little piece of it is doing right by people, and then they're going to refer other good people.
Oh
And
wow.
you build
yeah.
a business.
Yeah. So before the break, we were just going to ask you about. So you got into it, and you know, I've run my own business since 2001, and you know, there's always the things you didn't know about running a business that you have to figure out once you get in. What did you have to figure out? I mean, you jumped in on the deep end. What did you have to figure out after you got in?
Well, you know, it's easy to do it yourself, but then when you want to grow, I got to hire somebody. And now I was fortunate to bring early on one of my best friends. He became ultimately a partner, and he had the same work ethic. And then, you know, we hired somebody off the street that I felt like was going to do good, and he ended up being eventually a partner. So you got to surround yourself with good people that
Okay.
then take your mission and amplify it and multiply it. And the other big thing is too, it's easy to do one office. Now double it and go to two and figure out how you manage two, because I can't be at two places at one, and then 3 and 4,
And then
there were
now
always-
50 some.
and now 50 some, and there's always different times where you hit a threshold where X got easier, but then you're in a mid-range to grow, and the next step was going to be harder. So it's just been such a journey and a
Mhm.
path, and you're constantly learning. If you ever think after 40 years I know it all, I don't.
Yeah.
You learn all the time, and you got to be, again, curious and open to learning, open to constructive criticism, listening to people. I was just on a phone call. My sister drive me nuts. She was at a health club, met some young guy who started a business. Could you talk to him? I'm like, dude, I got so much to do, but yeah. So I spent some time while I was driving,
Okay.
talking and mentoring and trying to line him up with other people that could help him. Now he's got a small
Yeah.
business, so I sent him to where I'm on the board, Milwaukee Metropolitan Association of Commerce, MMAC.
Mhm.
There's resources there, but
Yeah.
it's about connecting. And you know, people look at me and they say the one thing about Scott is I'm a networker. I connect people. I've got a son that's a professional race car driver. I network to get him in. I've got a daughter that's an actress. I found a way from my networking to make a connection to get her on the inside of Hollywood. And you know, fast forward a year later, now she's got her 8th movie stage she's going to be in. So networking, connecting, doing right
Okay.
by people, but being open to meeting new people and, you know, figuring out who you can work with and how you can help.
Let's roll this back, because
I
this is
know,
just
there you go.
no, this is really important, because I think this is just fundamental, this networking, right?
It's everything.
So we've talked a lot on the show over the last 2-3 years about it's the people you surround yourself with,
Yes, sir.
right? But for folks who are starting out, right? For folks that are starting out, how do they build a network, right? You didn't know people, but
No,
you
I
built
didn't.
a network, right? And now you're talking about how you're helping, you know, whether it's your kids or other people that you know, you're helping build that network for them. How do you do that? You know, for somebody who's listening now and
Yeah.
and I don't
Yeah.
don't have a place to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
What's the first step?
So, I mean, if you're going to build a business, Yeah, two things. So there's an employee and there's an employer. If you want to do your own thing, do your own business, you got to put a plan together.
Yeah.
You got to know what you want to do. But then once you're actually a business, again, not trying to peddle MMAC, I'm a board member there. They have
And
tons of
my business is a member as well.
Awesome. Glad to have you. There are awesome resources. Like in October, they've got their biannual all-member meeting
Mhm.
where you go and see a couple thousand of your peers, and you go walk around and talk and introduce yourself and tell them what you do and figure out who you can help and who can help you. So
yeah.
there's resources like MMAC. On the other side of the coin is I don't want a business. I just want a really good job. And that's where something like a staffing firm, you come to us, you're gaining entry to thousands of companies. Let's help figure out where a good place for you to go and work and try. And again, maybe that cold warehouse isn't right, but then maybe the second place is a warm, it's hot, whatever manufacturer, plastic injection molding where it's warm. Maybe that's the right fit. And you go in and you invest in that. And fast forward, the plant manager out at this one I'm thinking of was a former temp employee of ours that's now running the plant, and he started as an employee. So there's two paths. If you're a business owner, go to networking events like MMAC. If you're an employee, come to QPS and learn, because we have other resources to help people to mentor them into being a good employee at some company.
Yeah. You also mentioned about, you mentioned about being in a half a dozen businesses that didn't make it.
Yes.
Right. And so you said that the difference was really not understanding the business as well,
right,
as you needed to. Right. So for folks that are thinking about, getting in, obviously you tried it out, right? You took a chance. How do you help think about, whether this is one I really should jump all in or make a pass, right? Take a hard pass on it. How do you make those decisions, right? For somebody who's listening today and maybe there's a little bit of an opportunity deciding whether or not you jump in or not.
Really by being curious and doing your due diligence to learn that particular industry and everything about it, knowing the positives and the pitfalls and the negatives, and then trying to figure out, is this something that if you're in Milwaukee needs more of, or Milwaukee can handle another one of me doing whatever. But really it's all about knowledge. If you know enough about that industry that you want to jump into, and you then find people that are in it or around it, you got to be curious. You got to learn, because again, if you think you know everything, that's a problem. If you are willing to be open-minded and learn, and then school of hard knocks, work from your mistakes, and then build a path to success. But not every business is for everybody. Again, one of my failures is, I don't know why I did this, but 76 and Silver Spring QPS branch happened to be where previously a frozen pizza company was. I bought the frozen pizza company, Sammy's Pizza, no longer around, God bless us. But I tried the frozen pizza industry, and I didn't know jack about it. And guess what? It didn't work for me. At the end of the road, we actually had another customer, Palermo's Pizza, making our product for us. But I didn't know enough about the business, and I didn't have the time to put in. So strike one, big time, and strike two, not the time, not the understanding of it, because I had QPS. Back when I did that, crazy story, I wouldn't make the pizza. We had people, temps, making them, but there was a time where I was like a route guy, taking pizzas to the pick and save and stuff like that. Just, didn't have enough time to do everything. So you really need to be narrow focused. Just like I mentioned, my son, professional race car driver. He's been racing in organized leagues since he was 4 years old. He's 22 now. He's in NASCAR. It's all he ever wanted. If he would have dabbled in baseball or basketball, he probably wouldn't have made it. This is what he wanted. He stayed narrow focused. It's all he ate, breathed, and slept. And he made it, because it's so competitive. It's so hard, just like business. You have to be focused. You don't want to dabble in a couple different things. Like, I want to maybe think about this business or this one or this one. Pick one, stay in the lane, and go all in on it, and put everything into it. And then you have a slight chance of success.
Wow. Well, it just sounds also to me that being good at one thing does open doors for other potential opportunities.
Sure.
Yes.
And I do have one other successful business to this date, but it's because I have two partners that knew the industry and broke
Mhm.
away from a company kind of like the QPS thing and started something with my help, and it's thriving. But yeah, I've had a lot of failures, but so did Mr. Gimbel, so did Mr. Henry Ford. You know, he built planes where they realized they're not at
Oh,
one
no.
point, and they did tractors. He stayed in his, eventually got back to doing cars, and that's
Mhm.
what he was good at, but he failed at some other stuff. And most people do have failures. You can't get to success without having some bumps along the road. It's how much it's going to take you down and how much it's going to offset you to get back on the path to success,
So
because
how-
it's never easy.
So how did you recover from failures, right? I mean, you acknowledge them. So what did you learn from them, and how did you then recover to get back on track?
I learned I'm a moron, and I kept trying other stuff. It always came back to QPS, and but learning, and again, it took a long time. But when you get in the frozen pizza industry, for example, you learn Palermo's is, and Tombstone are the kings
Yeah.
of it, and how hard they had to work and have to work, and how hard it is to get shelf space in a store. Well, if you're just dabbling or getting into it, you don't know jack, you don't know anything about it, and then you have to learn. And in my case, it was too much, and I bowed out of it, or other businesses that I did.
Yeah.
Again, you got to learn it, and you got to go all in. If you think you're going to try to juggle two or three, and I get there are businesses today that have multiple chains. That's different. When you're trying to do it all yourself, you got to stay really narrow
I
focused.
cannot believe, Jermaine, that you actually are like, you had your hand over there on that switchboard.
I actually really want him to keep talking because I'm picking up so many jewels from this guy.
Right.
I thought you were getting ready to bleep me out on
no,
something.
man,
that's
I was a
what
little
it is.
concerned that you were looking like it's that time again.
I mean, it really is. But if it was left up to me, you can keep going, man.
Okay, but since it's not left up
Since
to
it's
you,
not left
it's
up
not
to me,
left up to you.
in other words, we still have to take a break.
yeah, we still
Okay,
gotta-
all right, family, we'll be right back after this. All right. WNOV family, I cannot believe this is already the third and final segment of this interview. This thing has gone way too fast. I'm talking today with Scott Mayer, who founded and is chairman of QPS Employment Group. He went from one.
Formerly Quality Placement Service.
Oh, thank you. QPS here. All right. So, the idea that you went from one office to over 50. You've been able to help so many people. We talked a little bit earlier about automation. And artificial intelligence is having, I guess, the same impact too. What advice would you give for somebody who either is searching for or is hoping to stay in the market? What should they be doing to make sure that they're still competitive in this market as automation and AI start to reduce the number of jobs?
Yeah, you need to understand AI. You're younger today getting into it. You need to make it be a friend, not an enemy. Again, what I do, light industrial manufacturing, every day we lose jobs to automation and robotics. And there's still jobs out there, and there's still tools and resources, and AI can be a resource for you. And understanding that robotics is not necessarily going to take your job, it's going to enhance and maybe change your job going forward. Factories look very different today than in 1985, but there's still factories there. There are still people working, and there's always going to be need for jobs and need for people. If the robot's not going to do everything, it can't do everything. It's enhancing and helping us, and there's always going to be opportunities.
So being the technician who repairs the robots, maintains the robots too.
All these data centers, there are thousands of jobs that will come with that. It's just, you got to understand what job it is and how you can apply yourself and be qualified for that job. And it's about being curious and learning. But yeah, there's jobs.
So for young people who might, they're going to graduate come this next year, or maybe they graduated already this May, June, and they haven't found their place yet, what would you recommend they do? I got to believe show up at QPS. It's one of those.
Yeah, go to a staffing firm because they're a resource. Again, when you apply with us, you're applying to 1,000 local companies that work with us. So we're not going to be narrow focused on just one thing. Like if you went on your own, if you come to us, you're talking to hundreds of people, and explore, and you don't have to take the first opportunity we present you with because maybe it's not a fit. So explore, look around, and again, be curious and just try to learn and apply yourself and figure out what's the world offering and peddling today, and where can I fit in? What tiny piece can I be? Because again, it does take a village to make this world go round. You still need truck drivers, you still need plumbers, packagers. You just got to find out what you want to do and then be passionate about it and go all in and really be the best that you can be and do right by that opportunity. And God will take care of you. It'll be success. I promise you.
Wow. And if for someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, who's listening to this, gets inspired by the fact that you were able to do this, right? And you talked a lot during this interview about failures. It's not all been smooth. It hasn't all been success. What advice would you give for somebody who maybe would love to be an entrepreneur right here in Milwaukee and just doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, drive around, be curious, think about first of all, you got to be good at something, right? Or you got to be passionate about something. So maybe there's a widget, something we're in desperately need of, but I'm not pro widgets. So you got to have a square peg in a square hole. You can't put a round peg in a square hole. So first you got to figure out, look inside of yourself. What are you passionate about? What do you want to do to help advance yourself in society? And when you can match that up, then go all in trying to find out where you can channel that and where it fits in society or Milwaukee, how it can be useful, and then go from there.
Okay. All right. Beautiful. It's an amazing story. Lots of bumps along the way, but it sounds like a lot of beautiful opportunities that have come as a result.
It's been such a blessing, and looking back, it's been an amazing journey, and I've learned so much and continue to learn, and I wouldn't change anything. But yeah, there's been bumps and bruises along the way, and it makes you to what you are today. Because if life was all watermelons and sunflowers, it makes you more of a whole person when you can experience it. Makes you appreciate the good when you get a little taste of the bad, and we all get taste of bad in today's world.
So believe in yourself, believe in God, be curious, be good at something.
And be willing to go all in and
Okay.
work hard. Today it's all work-life balance. That's bullcrap. If you want to do something, maybe you got to work a little harder, and the work-life balance is a little off kilter until you find some footing and become successful.
Yeah.
Then you can start evolving. But if you want to do something and be good at it, you got to go all in and really be passionate about it.
Man, okay, Jermaine, is that the advice you thought we needed to hear today?
Yeah, it's most definitely beneficial to me.
Beautiful. Devo, you got any last thoughts on this, man?
No, just congratulations on 40 plus years, and just keep on doing what you're doing.
That is beautiful, man.
Now I'm going to be bold.
Uh-oh.
Jermaine, what's that?
What are you going to speak into existence now?
And cut.
I speak into existence right now that this guy is going to mentor me in the future, and I just believe it.
Well, and I believe it's right after he mentors me. Thank you very much.
I gotta go look you up first, Jermaine. See what your work record.
Oh, look it up, Doc. Look it
See what
up.
kind of employee he was.
Hey, man, I'm a good. Matter of fact, I've been self-employed since then. Just in the music field and things.
Well, you're
like
another
that.
good example of going out and believing what
Yeah.
you really care about doing,
Yeah.
you're passionate about,
Yeah.
and you've been able to work with all kinds of
Yeah.
different talent around the
National
country as
artists
well.
and things like that, and just tour and just travel. And just listening to this guy, he just lit something in me, man.
Awesome.
And,
If I can
can I
touch
ask a
one
question?
person. Yes, sir.
Is there a book or something of that nature in your future?
I've been told by people that I should write this story down because it's been unique and interesting, and I have not had time to think about that yet, but maybe at some point, I don't know. We'll see. Good question.
Okay,
right,
well, we
thank
got to go, but I'm going to write the forward for the book when it comes.
Rock and
Please,
roll.
All right.
All right,
Thank
man.
you, gentlemen.
Hey, peace out.